right. Welcome to reality.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
We are back. Say hi, G.
Hi, G.
That's our thing. We start off like that all the time.
I am
all the time.
at it.
So we have a guest. And of course, we are continuing with our series of the successful Black man, or what did you call it last week, G? We came up with like 9 different titles for it, but it's ultimately the successful Black man. It is. Or the success of a Black man.
Success of a Black man. I don't think that was it, though.
Yeah, I think I made it up.
Okay,
but y'all know what we're talking about.
We'll run with it.
We're going to go with it. Exactly.
There we go.
So we have Mr. James McCrae with us, and we're going to allow him to introduce himself to you guys. He can tell you who he is.
Yes, first of all, thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm not used to being on platforms like this, so having this opportunity is definitely a good thing. James McCrae, born and raised in the metropolitan area, grew up in between DC, PG, and Montgomery County.
That's what's up. I didn't know that. That's what's up. Look, we learn something different every day. Learn something different every day. So aside from your full-time, because you have a lot of other full-time jobs, tell us about your business or businesses.
Yeah, so I do multimedia production. I'm a photographer and I'm a videographer. My company's name is McCrae Multimedia, or sometimes referred to as James McCrae Multimedia. The James McCrae Multimedia piece is more so for wedding photography. I like my brides and grooms to know my full name so that way they know who they're working with. McCrae Multimedia is just a shorter version. A lot of people call me McCrae just because James is kind of boring. So I like McCrae, spruce it up a little bit. But I do a lot of things. I do wedding photography, video. I do headshots. I do promo video, corporate videos. I do school promotional videos. Pretty much anything multimedia that I can put my hands on, I'll do it. And I've been doing that I started my company 7 years ago.
That is
7 years ago is when I got really serious about it. And a lot of people often ask, well, how did I get started? And my grandfather got me started when I was a kid. So when I was growing up in DC, I lived with my grandparents, and my grandfather would never go to church. So my grandmother was trying to figure out, like, how can I get my husband into church? And so he started doing video, recording the services. And so because he needed help carrying gear and all that kind of stuff, he was like, well, if I got to go, young man, you got to go. So he would wake me up, drag me along, had me help him set up the cameras and do the production. So I picked it up from him. And then fast forward to high school years, I was a pretty good athlete, and my coaches were telling me that coaches wanted video of my football games. So my offensive line coach, Coach Bryant Nance, who is a really good friend of mine now still, and one of my best mentors, he pretty much said, look, man, after football practice, we're going to go to the editing suite at the school, because he was one of the TV production teachers. And he said, I'm going to show you how to edit every day. And we're just going to stay late after school, and you're going to learn the trade so that way you can use it later if you want to. And after that, I was like, this is cool. Like, I can have fun and make money playing with cameras. Like, this is kind of dope. And I just ran with it from there, and I never looked back.
So James, you've told us a lot about, you've introduced yourself. You told us about your business. So actually you answered a lot of the questions without actually getting them asked. So what is success to you?
Success to me. Success is doing what you want to do, what you love to do unapologetically. I often feel like people are chasing the wrong thing. Even at work, for example, I say I do multimedia production. And when the promotion cycles come around, a lot of people are discouraged because they may not have gotten promoted, they were overlooked. But I never get discouraged because I literally love what I do every day. So for me, it's not even about the paycheck. It's about just doing what I love, enjoying what I love, because it never feels like work. Anything that happens outside of that is extra. It's a bonus. If I get a bonus or if I do get a raise, it's like, cool. But not too many people can go to school for what they love to do, find a career field in what they love to do, and be successful at what they love to do. So for me, that's what success is, just living in your passion every day. And for me, that's what I feel like makes me successful, because that's what I do, and I embrace every bit of it.
Amazing. One question I have asked during this series is the difference, or your feeling of the difference between being great versus being successful. As I've said before, I actually did an interview for someone or I was interviewing someone for position for a job, and the question she asked me was, what do you feel like there's a difference between being successful and just being great? And if so, what's the difference? Or do you think that it's the same? I was like, huh. It took me a while,
That's a
but
good question. Yeah.
it's an amazing question. I was like, oh, I'm about to use it.
Successful versus great.
Mhm.
My first thing that comes to mind is this perspective, because greatness is measured by, if you're talking about personal greatness, is measured by how well you feel you've accomplished something. And success kind of is the same thing, because somebody else might look at your road, your journey, and say you're not successful. But who are they to judge where you are if it's successful to you? You know what I mean? I run into that a lot, actually, because transitioning from being an investigator and an analyst going into multimedia, to somebody on the outside, they may look like, oh, you had a really serious job, and now your job isn't as serious. So they may value it less, but I value it more because it's what I want to do. So to me, it's perspective. I think that being great and being successful are synonymous. That's my answer. I'm gonna stick with that.
It's a good answer. I like it.
I'm gonna stick with that.
I'm not gonna say black man because you ain't black. Your shirt's black.
I'm a black man. I'm a black man.
As a black man, how important is it for you to be successful, or how important is it to be successful? Period. As a black man,
It's extremely successful. I think that, not I think, I know, as a black man in America, we're faced with a lot of different issues, circumstances, and the odds are against us. You know, the odds are against us. So to add a little bit more background about myself, I always like to tell people, even when I speak to young men, is that being successful, being great, and being a black man that has a purpose is important. And it's a choice, right? So I grew up to my parents who were both drug addicts. So that's why I live with my mom and my grandmother, my grandfather, and kind of switch back and forth between custody battles and things like that up until about fifth grade. I'm also very transparent with the fact that I have three daughters with three different women. My youngest of my current wife, and I'm not on child support. I don't have baby mama drama, none of that. So to me, that's a choice, right? But if you look at my resume as a person, you wouldn't think I would be where I am today. But I literally made sure that I kept pushing through. I kept persevering. Any obstacle that came my way, I chose to push through. It was a choice. I could have sat back and sulked in it, or made excuses, or, a lot of people say, oh, the white man set up this. Like, I personally don't fall under that stigmatism. So every day I wake up with the mentality of get it done by any means necessary. Even if you look, I guess, over here too, I have Kobe painted on my wall in my man cave, because Kobe's mentality is just the Mamba mentality, the killer instinct. Like, if I smell it and I sniff it and I want it, I'm going to get it, period. Failure is not an option, especially because I have three young women looking up to me, and I want them to see a strong black man in their life. And for me, that's my biggest success in my life, is being a father. I take it seriously. I challenge other men to take it seriously, whether it's friends or even just men asking for advice. I'm challenging them all the time. Hey, do better, be better. You know, not to go off on a tangent, but it's like, you don't have to make all the money in the world. Kids don't see money; they see time. They want to see your presence. They want to see your energy. So think of ways to go outside and play. Think of just different things you can do. So being a black man is an amazing thing, because you have the opportunity to prove people wrong every day. And I work in a predominantly white office. I am the only black man. My supervisor is Puerto Rican, but I don't feel judged. I don't feel the racism or things like that. So I'm blessed in that regard. But they have made comments before of like, wow, we see things on TV about black people, but you don't portray that. And even funny story, when I was in Rhode Island freshman year, my uncle was driving me up to Rhode Island, and he went to Frostburg State University maybe 20 years prior to when I was going to school as a freshman. And he said that he was the only black guy in his dorm or something like that, right? And I'm like, okay, well, it's 2001, 2002. I won't experience that. Well, when I got up to Rhode Island, things didn't work out. I was dealing with some issues personal, so I decided to come home early when I transferred to Morgan. And this white guy named Mike, he was a baseball player. He was a freshman as well. He cried when I left, and he hugged me and he embraced me. And I'm like, "What are you crying for? Like, get off of me, first of all." But I'm like, "Why you here? Why you hugging me?" But he was like, "I'm really going to miss you, and you changed my perspective on Black people." So I'm like, "Well, what was your perspective?" He said, "Well, you're not like the ones I've seen on TV." And I said, "Well, what about the ones in your school or the ones that you grew up with?" He said, "James, I've never seen a Black man in real life. You are the first Black person I've ever seen in real life." And that, I was like, "What? Like, what do you mean?" And he explained he grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania. He said he lived on a farm. They had like one traffic light. All the kids in the school was white. So the only thing he saw on TV was like, stuff like Martin, Fresh Prince, any other kind of Black movies. So that's all he had in his head. And he was like, "You're so calm and you're cool and you're well spoken." I'm like, and at first I was offended by it, but I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And once he explained himself, it was like, wow, like, okay, so as a Black man, you still have the opportunity to show people something different. You look at me, I got tats everywhere. I used to have long hair. And so the perception was, oh, he's a thug, he's a hoodlum, he's this and that. And it's like, if you get to know me, like take the time to know me, have a conversation with me, you'll know that's not my life. I'm not about that, and I don't feel like I have to portray that as a Black man. Like, I feel like sometimes we feel like we got to be tough and walk around with our chest out and this and that. And in certain circumstances you do, but it's not how I like to carry myself at all times. Now, if I need to,
Right.
sure, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, I present myself based on the environment. And I think as a Black man, it's also important to be a chameleon. You have to be able to adapt. So if I go, let's say, to your school to talk to the youth, I can walk in there with a jersey and some tattoos and talk how they talk, because then I can relate to them, right? But in the same breath, if I have to go later to a job interview, I can put on my 3-piece suit that's tailored, brush my hair, do my curl sponge, and speak in corporate America talk if I need to. So having that versatility is powerful. And I think sometimes we teach our youth the wrong thing about, they should be a certain way, but I think they should still embrace being themselves, but also understand the power and being able to adapt to their environment.
I definitely agree to that. That's
really good. Do you think as, I'll say, a multimedia specialist, you're not just a photographer, you're not just a videographer, you do an array of things. Do you think within that field, I know you talked about your full-time job, but do you think in the field of multimedia, it's harder for you as a Black man, or it's pretty much the same?
I think it can be. It can be. But also, people have this notion that, Black people don't like to spend money. Okay, so a lot of times in the industry, even within our communities, the thought is white clients will pay more, right? And while that may be true in some aspects, I think Black businesses, entrepreneurs have to do better at being business people. I think a lot of times we get too comfortable with, doing business with our cousins and our brothers and everybody's bro and sis and the hookups. And I learned that about 2 years ago, right? I had some friends who I did photography for years. I never charged them because it was the relationship. And then something happened in my business and I said, going forward, I'm charging everybody their normal rate. When I charged them my rate, they were appalled. And they were, "Oh, you're so expensive. I can't believe this." And I said, "You've went 5 years without paying for not one shoot. And the one time I give you a price, you have a problem with it." I said, "Cool. I just can't do your photos this time." So they decided to take their business somewhere else. No problem. They got the pictures back. They hated them. They came back to me like, "Hey, can we now hire you?" My price has gone up. My price has gone up, right? So I say that to say, being in that position, like, you have the power to dictate how your business operates. It could be as good as you want it to be, or it could be as bad as you want it to be. But to answer your question about being Black, I don't think that changes the trajectory of my business because there are a lot of Black clientele. Now, what I do try to do though, I do like to diversify my portfolio. So again, the white people that I do work with, we're like family to me. Like I view them as family because of how they treat me. So they've called me out before. My one buddy at work, he said, James, you don't have any white people on your website. So white people might not think you want to photograph them. I was like, wow, I never thought about it like that. I said, so if you see that and you see it's a problem and I do, so what are you going to do about it? He said, I got you. So he literally went to everybody in the office and said, we're going to support James and we're going to get on his website and we're going to let him photograph us and we're going to pay him to do it. So now I do all the photography for the people in my office. And, so now my portfolio is diversified. So when I do go to whether it be a school, corporate, or even somebody personal, it doesn't look like I'm one dimensional. Because quite frankly, photographing Black people and white people are two totally different ball games. The lighting is different. The mannerisms are different. There's a lot of different things that you have to be in tune with. There's things that I can say to Black clientele that white clientele may or may not understand, and vice versa. So again, it goes back to that being a chameleon and being able to adapt based on the environment. But I don't think that I have any shortage being a Black man in the business. And I'm a straight shooter. I don't really play the political games. Either you want to work with me or you don't. And that's fine because for every person that doesn't want to work with me, there's somebody who does. So I'll take my energy to the good energy where people want to work with me.
Exactly. I was about to say, oh, sorry. You about to ask me a question. I was about to say,
go ahead.
What I was going to say, was yours a question?
Yeah, but it kind of went to the two different Black and white.
Oh, I was going to say just to the point of charging friends and family. I tell people all the time, like if you own a business, if they're really your friends, if they're really your family, if they are really there to support you, they should be able to support your charge. Because you're not like, that's not supporting you if I'm looking for a friends or family discount. Like you're not supporting me. I could now if I'm just starting out and I need to build myself up, then okay, I get that. But for the most part, you're not being supportive of that person if every time you go to them is, oh, can you do my pictures for free, or can you do this video shoot for me for free? Like that's just not it. And I think at this point in the area that we're in life with, Black Lives Matter and all of that stuff, it's people are understanding it a lot more, and it's because we're now voicing it versus before no one was really voicing that. And now it's like, if we see somebody and they're like, oh, I want to go to James, but is he too expensive? It's like his price is his price. And that's just, as an example, but that's the support. It's like, I can direct you to anybody. I can direct you, but it's all about who you want. It's all about what the product is, but you have to be willing to pay for that product.
Definitely.
I think we're definitely getting to, hopefully, we're definitely getting as a community of African Americans, Gina. We're getting to that point where we can, be very supportive and understand that you're going to go pay white Joe $700 for some pictures, but when James say $500, you're like, oh, he's supposed to be my bro. That's supposed to that's not even a discount. No, it's more that's what the price is. You pay it or you take your pictures on your iPhone.
Pretty much. And I even tell people now, it's what you're paying for is insurance. And when they're like, what do you mean insurance? You're paying for my expertise, that I can walk into any situation and execute my photography or video with the equipment that I've invested in, the time I've invested in, the education I've invested in, or you cannot. And then you get what you get. And even to go back to the original question of, being a Black photographer, is I like to tell people that they're paying for me as a person. You're paying for my experience. You're paying for how I treat you. You're paying for the vibe that we have. You're paying for the customer service. And I truly believe that although I provide a great product, I have some clients that I've been working with for years. If I provided them with a trashy product, they'll still love it because they love me, because we built that relationship. Obviously, I would never do that, but people buy into what they gravitate towards and what they feel comfortable with. So the more you can make someone feel comfortable about your product and about you as the person selling the product, they'll support you, the individual. And I think that goes a long way.
And you're not gonna go, like me and G not gonna go to our nail tech and be like, girl, why you charging all of this? I'm gonna pay for it because I like I like it and I want to get my nails in my head done.
Exactly.
I ain't gonna be like, oh no, come on now, Shakita.
Yeah,
That ain't my nail tech name.
I ain't
And we don't
lie.
go into the Asian salons and do that. We don't question the prices.
Sure don't.
Unless the price they quote, unless the price they tell you at the end is not on that board, but still.
That ain't up there. I don't see that.
I don't even look at the board no more. I just know you kind of know this is how much it costs to be pampered. This is how much it costs for this additional whatever you're getting, because this is not like getting your nails in your hair done is not a necessity. So you know that getting this done, you're going to spend $100-something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I've done, like, now I go, what did bother me, and what bothers me, and it's not because of it's because of us as a Black people,
Mm-hmm.
When Black people have their businesses, they're the only people who make you do a deposit. It doesn't bother me now,
mm-hmm.
but I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand. But as time went on, so many people, every time I would go, oh, it's a $20 deposit, $20 deposit. But once I built that rapport with them, I didn't have the deposit anymore. But I was like, I didn't have to do that when I went to Su Ying at the nail shop. I didn't have to do that when I went over here at the different nail shop. But they kept saying, people are canceling, they don't show up. It's us. We're doing, and it sucks. So like now I go get my nails done. It's my nail tech. I don't have to give her a deposit. But as soon as I go in, she knows this is what I'm paying her. Do whatever you want to do with it. Like, don't go past that. This is what I gave you. So if I give you $50, you do $50 worth of work, and then let me go out the door.
Right.
But that just, I just don't. Us as a people,
we ruin our own community. We yell and shout and protest, Black Lives Matter, support Black businesses, but when it's time to actually support a Black business, we're really not, like, we're making it harder for that business owner than anything else. Like, you go in a beauty supply store and it's Black owned and it's, oh yeah, I went to the blah, blah, blah. You hyping it up on social media, but you go in there, oh my gosh, why is this track piece cost this much? Is it heifer? Then go to damn Amazon, heifer. It irritates me. I need to run in there like, then get out. Like, you're not supporting them because you don't know what it takes to, why the costs are like they are. And for African-American business owners, it's harder when it comes down to the financial industry and getting loans and things like that. So yes,
for sure.
You may pay more because they have to pay more. So that's what it is. And if you're gonna go out there and hoop and holler, you better go talk to JP Morgan about why they wouldn't give her
loans.
Right. Because they wouldn't, so it's harder. But the flip side to that also is, as business owners, we can make it hard for our customers too, because we have that mentality that our people are going to F us over. Our people aren't going to do right by us. So automatically we're on guard and don't want, to do this or do that or offer that, because we just feel like they're going, as a bit, you have to treat everybody the same. Everybody has to be treated. To what you say, you have to be versatile. You have to be able to give the same customer service to Susie as you're going to give to Pedro and Maria and then Shaniqua. Like, all of them should get the same amount of customer service or the same type of customer service, no matter what.
Yeah. Something else I started doing was that whole, the customer's always right. And I don't agree with that. Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Always right, because Shaniqua going to act a whole hot mess.
One thing that I started implementing in my business was people would come late. And if I have back-to-back sessions and somebody's late, it's like you're throwing off the next person, the next person, the next person, right? And that's a pet peeve of mine. So what I started telling people was, I now have to hold you accountable. So in my emails, I changed the verbiage to, or from, your shoot is at 11 a.m. to your time slot is 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. So that way you know what your slot is. So if you show up at 12 o'clock, you know, you
Got
have 30 minutes to
Yep.
do whatever we can do.
You better hurry
You
up
know?
and be.
Right. You know,
And hope I catch what I catch.
but the sad part about that is, even in those experiences, people will still bash you as if you were the one that were wrong. Like, you were late, but you're going to bash my business because you only had 30 minutes to photograph, you know? So it sucks, but that's kind of how it is.
Yeah. And I mean, we as color folks, we ain't never on time for nothing. It don't matter how hard we try. And I definitely say, like, I was always one that time, you can't give back time. So being on time was very important. However, I learned
now.
I learned as I became a parent that time is not on your side. It's on the kid's side. And it is what it is. And it took me a while, honestly, to like get that thought process in my mind, because at first it would literally bother me that I'm late. And then if someone else is making me late, then I'm pissed. Like I'm irritated. I'm angry.
Yeah.
I made her late on Sunday.
But we weren't really, we was on time because everybody else showed up 30 minutes after. But anyway, so we was on time. But just, you know, overall, like it used to bother me. And then as, you know, once I had Morgan, it was just like, look, it's going to be what it's going to be. But you still like have to respect the time. So if I'm coming to James and he says, your time slot is 11 a.m., Durham Walston, we have to be out the house at 10 o'clock. I don't even tell him the time. I give him a whole little time. That way it's not a slow move, because you know each other and stuff. So it definitely, I think, is a Black community issue. Like we definitely are states. We live that BP time. Like it's in our minds. It's ingrained. Our parents taught us that. So But
So what's your favorite thing to photograph? Like, would you prefer weddings or just like family?
And I'm gonna add to that. I was thinking the same thing that you was thinking. In addition to what's your favorite, who has been your favorite? Like a family, like add to it.
Okay.
Like my best shoot, you mean? My favorite shoot? Okay. So right now, my favorite thing to photograph is headshots. So if you see here, I had a procedure yesterday, so that's why I couldn't make it yesterday. And 2 years ago,
I thought that was his caller.
Nah, I had a procedure, just a little bandage. But 2 years ago, the day before my birthday, me and the same white coworker who I told you was like my brother at work, he invited me to go play basketball the day before my birthday, and I tore my Achilles. I tore my Achilles, had to have surgery. In the process of that, caught a blood clot in my calf. So they had to go through my neck to put an IVC filter in my stomach to make sure the blood clot didn't travel to my lungs or my heart during the surgery.
Wow.
So fast forward, COVID happened. When I was supposed to get the filter removed, I couldn't get it done. So I finally got an appointment yesterday. No, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday is when they did it. So that's why I have this here. Now, the reason why I brought that up is because 2019 is when I started doing headshots. When I tore my Achilles, I was borderline depressed. I couldn't do anything. It was my right foot. I couldn't drive, couldn't walk, couldn't put pressure on it, you know, and being a former athlete, that was mentally draining. I couldn't do things with my girls. I was in a lot of ways helpless. And I was trying to think of ways like, how can I still do photography and video? That summer alone, I missed out on $22,000 because I couldn't shoot the weddings. And I literally had to hire teams for 4 weddings and all my other shoots. And I just couldn't do it. So I started following this headshot photographer in New York. His name is Peter Hurley, a white guy in New York, great guy, awesome guy. And I just started getting motivated about headshots because his thing was, you can do them anywhere. So I'm like, if I can hobble around the house on one leg, I can set up a backdrop. I can get my daughter to help me with the lights. And I can just have people come over my house and do headshots in my living room. So that's what I did. And from there, I was like, oh, this is cool because it's one-on-one. You really get to know people, get to know about what they're doing, kind of get to talk to them about their businesses. And you can network beyond what you could in more of like a network setting, really, because you get to build that rapport. So I did a few headshots in my living room. And then it just took off. I started posting and people would just hit me up left and right. Can I get a headshot? Can I get a headshot? And then that's how it segued into doing the schools at a larger scale, because I felt confident that I could walk into a room, do 50, 60 headshots in 2 or 3 hours and go home and make a good amount of money. So it was like I could work 8 hours at a wedding day and make $3,000, or I could work 3 hours at a school doing headshots for a staff and make $5,000. It's kind of a no-brainer. I'm gonna work less, make more, and walk away. So for me, headshots is the best thing to photograph. Plus, a lot of people don't have good headshots. A lot of people do not have it. And a headshot is the first thing that people see when they see you, whether it be on a Zoom call or G-Chat or even Facebook. That headshot can say a lot about you. And if you have a cheap looking headshot, it kind of goes to show that you aren't investing in yourself. It's not important for you to put your best foot forward, if you will. That's one perception. Or the other perception is you just don't know where to find a good headshot photographer. So a lot of people have been finding me on Instagram, word of mouth, but it's literally just been taken off. And to go back to my favorite thing to photograph, my favorite shoot. That's a tough one.
I'm about to say Christmas photos.
You know,
the Christmas photos with the kids be so cute. They let them jump on the bed and everything.
Yeah, and I like that because kids can be themselves, right? The only thing with the Christmas photos, and this is kind of where I lacked in my business, was I didn't plan it, because it was so much other stuff going on. Like the business side of my personal business didn't really get good until last year. Before that, I was kind of just winging it. It was like, all right, you text me, we're gonna schedule a shoot, cool. And then in the calendar, I'd be like, oh, I got a shoot today, okay. Like I never missed a shoot, but it could have been tighter, it could have been better. The correspondence could have been more efficient. And so I made sure this past year that I did that, because of COVID, I had nothing but time, didn't do any shoots. So I was like, let me tighten this stuff up. So now the user experience can be even better. They can go through the website and book. They don't have to talk to me directly. They can see my schedule, my calendar. But as far as my favorite thing to shoot, I would say for my job, I won't talk about that. Hold on. All right, so 2 things. One of the favorite things I ever shot was actually Kobe. So when I was 25,
I was about to say NBA or NFL.
Yeah, but see, this was a fluke. So at the girl I was dating at the time, she surprised me. She was like, she was from New York. So she was like, we're going to go for a ride to New York and, your birthday gift or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. So we're driving up 95 and I noticed we took a detour in Philly. I'm like, why are we stopping in Philly? I'm like, this, whatever, like I'm down, whatever, So then I noticed she pulled into the Philly basketball arena. I'm like, all right, I guess we're going to a game, but maybe she's taking me to go see Iverson. And then we walked in and I saw Iverson versus Kobe, like a sign. And I was like, yo, are you serious? Like Kobe's playing tonight? I went inside, we had courtside seats.
Wow.
Courtside seats. And I had just got my new camera. Like this was like the first camera I ever bought. Actually, no, I had it before. But anyway, courtside seats. So I mean, Kobe's like, I could have hit him if I wanted to. So photographed him.
Thankfully you didn't.
Huh?
Thankfully you didn't.
Actually, I probably should have, because if he hit me back, I probably could have got a nice lawsuit. I might be in a totally different situation, But no, it was cool. It was cool to be able to see him play against Iverson, get some photos. Some were great, some were trash because I didn't know what I was doing. But overall, it was a good experience. As far as for actual gig, I'll say my favorite shoot was September 2014. My best friend, he's a hype man. That's what he does. You might know him. He went to Bowie, Avon Jackson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Avon's one of my best friends.
Avon played football.
He did.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you might know him if you see him. They might call him. No, they call him Avon.
He got a real big head, like real big head. Like that. That's everybody knows.
Great way to represent.
Listen, that's everybody knows, right?
G's husband played football for Bowie, so he probably he knows him because he's our year.
He know he is, yeah.
But hold up, he talking about our year. He really showed his age like he was a whole adult talking about some Iverson. Sir, how the
was
Iverson?
It was late. Iverson late in his career. He was about to retire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was about to retire.
That when you was having him on your wall, Gina.
Iverson was never on my wall, trust that.
But we so Avon's a hype man, right? So his cousin was getting married in California. And he told his cousin, like, oh, my boy do photography. He can come do your wedding in California. And I'm like, bro, I don't even do weddings. I've never done a wedding before. Like, what are you talking about? He was like, no, you're gonna get this wedding. I'm like, all right. So his wife, his cousin's fiance at the time, she looked at my website and she was like, I want to book you. I want to hire you. I'm like, to come to California? She was like, yeah. I was like, you gonna fly me to San Diego to do your wedding? She was like, yeah. I was like, why? She said, and that's what she said. So going back to the black versus white thing, she said, there are not a lot of photographers in San Diego that know how to photograph Black people. She said, when I look at your colors on your website, I like what I see. I said, cool. So she paid for my flight, my hotel, all my food while I was out there. And then she was like, stay an extra few days and enjoy it. So I went to San Diego for, I think it was like 5 days, 4 or 5 days. The best wedding experience that I had. And that's really what took my business to a whole nother level. Can I share my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you something.
But so if you had someone, a mentee or what have you, or you have some young guys or girls that are looking to grow into being in multimedia, or, I want to be a photographer, I want to be a videographer. I can say I've been one that's been a Jill of all trades. I wanted to be a photographer. I have cameras. I just don't use them. I got cameras. I was looking in my jewelry box the other day, and I don't know. I just looked in it. I don't use it. It's just stuff in there.
Film.
No, I have. So I was gifted years back. I was gifted a Swarovski camera.
Huh?
It was a gift. It's a camera, but it's made of.
Really?
It was from Swarovski. It's all Swarovski crystals. It's gold plated. I'm gonna send a picture to both of y'all when we finish. Okay. And I didn't know what to do with it, so I initially put it on like a necklace. Way too heavy for that life, so it's just been sitting. I was like,
you're a whole rapper now.
And it was supposed to. It was like, this should be your inspiration. You want to do this. You have all this stuff. You've invested in all this stuff. Everybody's like, I went through a whole phase in high school where it was like, I'm going to be a photographer. I want to do this. I want to do that. I took the photography classes in high school. I took them, during college. I could, and I was just that person that I got a degree in for nothing. Because I ain't doing nothing with this damn degree. I got a whole master's degree in economics and I ain't doing not a damn thing. Can't help nobody. I'm so sorry. No, I don't even remember what I learned. So, but yeah. So if you had that young person that you see that's in a community, what would you tell them? What would your advice be to that young gentleman or that young lady that's looking to get into being into multimedia or what have you?
I would say a few things. Number one, go as far as you want to go. Don't let anyone dictate how far you can go. Push through, persevere, don't ever quit. But in terms of learning the craft, when people come to me, learn your gear. Learn your gear. Learn your gear. So many times people come into the business seeing the end product and they think that, it's just what everybody always says. Oh, that's a great picture. You have a nice camera. Okay, well, here, take my camera and you take the same picture and see how it works. Right? But you can't because you don't know the settings. You don't know the lighting. You don't understand. So I always challenge people, know your gear.
Idea. I have no idea.
So when I talk about that insurance for people, it's like I can literally walk into a room, assess the room, and know what settings I'm going to use and start shooting. take 1 or 2 test shots, I'm ready to go. And then if something breaks, falls, something's thrown off, anything, you have to be able to act quickly because a bride doesn't want to hear, I'm sorry.
Yep.
A groom doesn't want to hear you tell his bride, I'm sorry. So by knowing your gear, you can work in any conditions, any environment. And I would also tell them, don't back down from opportunities. You never know what opportunity will change your career in a positive way. So, a lot of people run from opportunities. That's why I say this is the first time I'm speaking on a platform like this, because I would run from those opportunities. But over time, I started realizing I actually have something to say. So why not say it? If it can help one person, that's all that matters. And I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to pronounce every word properly or say everything the right way. But if somebody can get at least one nugget from what I say, then it's helpful. Yep. But definitely follow your passion, learn your gear, and be patient. Be patient. I see a lot of photographers who I look up to who now I'm in the same circles with, I'm in the same conversations with. I still kind of sit in the background because that's just me. I'm just a quiet person, kind of low key. But I feel like I can shoot with the best of them. The only difference between them and me is their name is put out there more. But if you took my pictures and put it in their portfolio, I feel like somebody wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But that came from time and repetition. I have at least 10 hard drives of photos and videos. And I mean, you're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of photos, hours of videos. So it just doesn't happen overnight. You have to push through it because you're not going to be as good as you think you are. Just because you get lucky one shoot, another shoot may be totally different, but you can't get discouraged. You can't say, I'm going to quit and give up because it didn't turn out the way I thought it was, or because it didn't get a certain amount of likes on social media. That's the other thing. Don't feed into social media.
Not at all.
Social media is it's the devil.
Overrated.
It's the devil. And I even practice what I preach. So if you look at my stories, I post on my stories kind of frequently just to stay relevant on social media. But I haven't posted on my feed since September 5th last year. And I did that on purpose. And I'm still getting followers because my work is consistent. But you get a lot of Bitcoin people want to make cartoons of you, all these fake followers. And I want organic followers. I want to be able to comment on yours, you can comment on mine, we have a discussion, and it's genuine. But if I post a photo, for every photo I post, there can be 50 people who like it. There could be 50 people who hate it. If I focus on the 50 who hate it, I won't keep shooting. I'll stop because I'll think, oh, they're going to bash it. It's going to be ugly or they're not going to like it. But what if you focus on the 50 people who like it, right? Those are your clients. So I don't shoot for anybody else but my clients, period. Because the art is so subjective. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Exactly. And so even when people come to me and ask me for advice, hey, what do you think about this photo? My first question is, what was your intent? What was your intent? Did you get what you were trying to do? If you did, I can't tell you that your photo is wrong.
Right. Yeah.
But if you had something else you were trying to do, I could say, oh, here's what you could have done to achieve that. But I'm never going to tell somebody your photo is wrong. Your photo could be blurry and dark. Maybe you were doing some abstract art. I don't know. Maybe. But, who am I to judge? Now, if you say I was trying to photograph a squirrel jumping midair, then I'll be like, yeah, you failed. But here's how you can do it next time better, right?
That was you.
That's what I would tell them. Just, stay the course and just have fun with it. Have fun with it.
Have you ever done that? Or have you ever thought about like doing classes to help people like Rayshawn who has cameras?
I do. They said I'm literally looking at the whole. I got all. Yeah.
So yes, I have. So recently I did a class for a young man. His wife reached out to me on Instagram, and she was like, my husband loves your work. He follows you. Can we set up like a day in the life mentor session one-on-one with him for his birthday? So I put together a course and I did 8 hours with him. We went through lighting indoors and outdoors. I hired a model, a makeup artist, and the whole shebang for him to come in and go through a whole shoot. We had lunch, we talked, we edited, and I got to kind of see what he wanted to do, what he liked and didn't like, and just showed him what a day in the life of photography is for me. And he said he loved it. And I like to do it on that scale because everybody's different.
Yeah.
So if I have a class, I got to come up with a curriculum. I got to try to make sure all the students are in different places. I'd rather do it on a smaller scale where it's either one-on-one or 1 or 2. And I can really focus on what do you want to take away from the photography, because it's different. So I know how to shoot sports. That's totally different than shooting a wedding.
Yeah.
Which is totally different from shooting headshots, which is a totally different beast from doing video. So let me know what you want to learn and I can teach you what you want to learn. And that's kind of the approach that I'll take. So if someone does have an interest, they can reach out to me and I will do it. But even when it comes to classes, because I've been blessed in my career with my full-time job and my business, I don't mind paying it forward. So if someone comes to me with questions, I'm okay with giving out information. I don't feel threatened by the competition. It's so much money to go around. We can all eat, so if somebody really wants to pay for a class, we can do a class. Otherwise, just shoot me an inbox, shoot me a DM. I'll answer your question, but if I don't have time, I'll say, oh, I'm busy. I'll get back to you on this day, but I don't mind helping out wherever I can. If somebody because that's how I got started. Somebody had to answer my annoying questions and all the YouTube video searches I had. So it was like, I don't mind paying it forward.
Awesome. So last question I guess I have, what's your next goal? What's next for McCrae Multimedia?
Okay. As far as a goal, I have a business venture with photography that I won't share all the details.
Yes, got to keep some things under wraps.
But it's something related to headshots, and it's something that has never been done. And I'm excited for it. I sat on it and I kept sitting on it, but the more I sit on it, I feel like nobody's doing this. Nobody has done it. And I know I could do it, and I know I can pull it off.
Do you need
a muse?
I was trying to think of the word. I didn't know.
But I will tell you this. Something else I'm going to do. I'm actually going to wrap my vehicle. So I got a van maybe like 5 years ago, just an old white van from a government auction with it has like 40,000 miles on it. It's like a 2005. I'm going to wrap it with my marketing stuff and use it as my primary vehicle so I can just drive around and have marketing everywhere I go.
So you mean to tell me if I took pictures with you, like my picture could be like on a metro bus?
I don't think he said metro bus.
Yeah, I might say not quite a bus.
I said like a metro bus.
I don't think he quite said that.
Yeah, more like a van. More like a van. Yeah, so that's something I'm definitely going to do sooner than later.
Awesome.
Because it's free marketing, free advertisement. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap it up because we do post on Instagram, and Instagram is petty with how long we can post the video.
Gotcha.
They are very petty. But thank you. I know. But thank you so much for joining us. This has been amazing conversation.
You forgot, James, what's your I thought you were, my bad.
What Gina was about to say. Drop your social media handles as well as your website.
All right. So my website is www.mccraemultimedia.com, MCCRAE multimedia.com. Everything, Facebook, Instagram. I don't have Twitter, but if I did, at McCrae Multimedia. So MCCRAE Multimedia. Anything hashtag McCrae Multimedia or DMV headshots, DMV wedding photographer, you should be able to find me.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again. We truly appreciate it. This is our last episode for our series, and we ended it with a bang because this was amazing.
I appreciate y'all having me. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And so to our listeners, please make sure that you follow James. He left his handles and we'll also tag him, but make sure that you go and follow him. Although social media likes and follows don't really matter, but we still like for you to follow us so that you can get your business. Also make sure that you continue to follow and download the podcast at Realities, and I know how to spell it. So it's RAIALITIES. Make sure that you continue to follow us on social media and download the podcast where you get your podcasts, wherever you listen to them at. It's going to be everywhere. It is everywhere. So thank you again.
So let's do this. Let's do this. Whoever has tuned in this long, right? Let's do a giveaway. So if you tuned in this long and you are at this point, obviously you won't hear it if you're not here.
That is true.
If you comment on the video below, I'll pick one random winner for a free 30-minute headshot session, one updated headshot. So that's what we'll do.
Does that count for me?
No, I don't think you matter for you. Gonna comment now that it ain't even posted.
Right.
Can I comment now? Like.
Gina won't forget because she ain't even on social media like that.
They got to comment. They got to comment below.
All right. Well, y'all heard it. And so to our followers that listen through the whole thing, we're not going to tell you. We're just going to post. So
there you go.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. All right. Y'all have a good one.
Because she